The only sound in the dark corridor is that of your footsteps as you tread the stone, damp floors, holding your breathing, hand on the hilt of your sword, anticipating a trap at every step. It happens without warning. You turn around and see this skittering at you in the dark. What do you do? Well, I'm going to tell you what you do today on Ash Quest. Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, and this is Knightmare, a book series based on the thrilling ITV series of the same name, the episodes of which are pretty freely available on YouTube. Knightmare is a sort of hybrid novel, choose-your-own-adventure book series, while the TV show, well, a video is worth 1,000 pictures, and a picture is worth 1,000 Ash words, so our version of this in the US was Legends of the Hidden Temple. Pros and cons. The books were published, and I think that this was the first edition from 1988 by Corgi, and it's worth noting that Corgi also published the Hero Quest novels, and these novels have something else in common with Knightmare. They are authored by the same man, Dave Morris, although they came out a little bit later in 91 for the Fellowship of Four, 92 for the Screaming Spectre, and 93 for the Tyrant's Tomb, respectively. Corgi also published Tunnels and Trolls a bit before Knightmare. This particular book, The Gamesman of Cassar and Mistywood, coming out in 1986. Also, choose your own adventure series of books, with Hero Quest having the part novel, part actual Hero Quest board game quest, and then part choose your own adventure quest. Having read them, I can tell you Dave Morris is a really good fantasy author in his own right, and the fact that he's able to craft these game book series with multi-paths and endings is just another layer of accomplishments for which I am very impressed. I did mention Knightmare was a book series. We also have Fortress of Assassins, The Sorcerer's Isle, and later on, when Yearling began publishing the books, The Forbidden Gate and The Dragon's Lair. Right here on the cover, we have a picture of our Tregard, the Dungeon Master. But all of that aside, today I just want to talk about the original book on this Tome Tuesday. And if this is something that you end up really enjoying, please request more of it, and we'll go through the other Knightmare books as well. Now, I'm not going to read the novel portion, although I am going to tell you about the back, and I'll give you a bit of the plot for the novel portion. We will then jump straight into the gameplay section of the book and see how long we can survive after we read the rules. And that's what this episode is. So, straddle in, buckle up, finish casting your protection spells, and let's go. Can you beat the challenge? The only way is onward. There is no turning back. Ride with Tregard, outlawed Saxon knight and supreme swordsman, through the dark sorceress lands of history as he sets off on a torturous quest to regain his birthright. His task, to seize once more the keys to the grim northern keep known as Knightmare Castle. Read carefully, for as Tregard's quest unfolds, so you too can arm yourself against evil and prepare for the ultimate test. For, deep within the depths of this adventure story lie the dread dungeons of Knightmare Castle, where you too can struggle to overcome the monstrous puzzles of ITV's award-winning game series, Knightmare. Can Tregard survive the challenge of Knightmare? Can you? ISBN barcode for anyone interested, and of course the Anglia Television Limited logo on which this aired. As the riders reined in their horses, a great wheel groaned into motion in the bowels of the keep, chains rattled over pawls, and the drawbridge lowered to span the fissure. At the same time, the portcullis crept upwards to reveal an entranceway thick with shadows. Tregard's hand fell instinctively to the hilt of his sword. He adjusted his grip on the magic shield. Exchanging a glance, the two companions rode forward across the drawbridge. "Welcome!" the voice echoed across the flagstones of the deserted inner courtyard. It came from no particular direction, and the speaker was not in sight. "Welcome, Tregard of Dunselm. I could not close my door against you, as that would have deprived me of sport. Now you shall have the chance to gamble your life in my game." Tregard, Saxon knight and supreme swordsman, undertakes a deadly quest to regain his birthright, grim Knightmare Castle, from its sorceress master. As Tregard's terrifying mission unfolds, you too can prepare for the ultimate test, Knightmare. This particular book is by Tim Child and Dave Morris. Dave Morris takes second spot here. Interestingly enough, future books have Dave Morris, sporting the title of author alone. First, you must know that the keep which became Knightmare Castle was not always named so. Once it was proud Dunselm, a Saxon fort reinforced from Norman coffers to stand guard against the marauding Picts and Scots, guided by the principle so that the best gamekeeper is an ex-poacher. William II, son of the Conqueror, made the Dunselms his vassals and entrusted them the guardianship of the North. Let them hold their fortress and keep the Scots at bay, he told his courtiers with a cunning smile. There will be less mischief in England if Saxon swords face north. A lot of this is rooted, surprisingly, in historical events, and it draws on some historical accuracy to paint this picture, even though it is a fantasy. We witness the rain rattling on the red-tiled roofs and the gilded minarets of Constantinople, to which we can't go back. And that's nobody's business but the Turks. Wait, no, we can't go back to Istanbul. I had one job. Nothing, said Tregard. Let's take what we can carry and get out of here. We won't get paid now, and I have no stomach to watch Christians slaughter Christians. Serious, and that's just the prologue. 7 chapters span 107 pages of this 144-page book, with this last sliver being the choose your own adventure. But that will be the meat of this video, if we can survive that long. In the tapestry-hung antechamber to the great dungeon beneath Knightmare Castle, a warm fire burns in the iron grate, and a familiar bearded figure rises to his feet to greet you. His bearing is fierce, but his expression not unfriendly. Welcome, adventurer. I, Tregard, master of this dungeon, offer you the Knightmare challenge. If you would tread the road towards knighthood, you must first walk the path of danger through my castle. If you will accept Tregard's challenge, arm yourself with a pencil and paper on which to record items you may collect along the way, spells, and any special instructions you may be given. Also, be sure to read the adventurer's code below. It's been a while since we've had to get out the old notepad. We were using it for Lone Wolf as well as fighting fantasies. Warlock of Firetop Mountain, and if you're interested in those playthroughs, they are available here on the channel. We shall start a new page for Knightmare. The Life Force Clock. Your life force status is important. There are only 3 possible stages: green, amber, and red. Each time you use a gate, door, or portal, your life force degrades by 1 stage. If your life force status becomes red, you must find energy on the other side of the next door you use. If you do not restore your life force at this point, you are dead and must start the challenge again. Be sure to make a note of your current status each time you move from one room to another. Using a wellway to move from one game level to another does not degrade your life force. Now, this life force concept is something that's actually repeated in the television series as well. The graphic for it is, it's graphic, to say the least. The Adventurer's Code. Your quest is for truth and justice. Attempt to remain true to them. Good is often defined as the right-hand path. When there are no other indications or clues, it may be best to choose this way. Beware the weapons of your enemies. Unless there are other indications, it is best to assume that all the weapons you discover fall into this category. Aggression breeds aggression. It is best not to attack anything unless it appears to be attacking you or threatening to do so. Never slay if there is any alternative. Do not attack superior forces when your wits could serve you better. Do not cheat. You may only carry 2 objects from a clue room. If you find you have more than 2 objects in your possession, you must choose which to discard. Clue objects found on one level may only be used on that level and should be discarded as you descend to the next level. However, a magic clue object may be kept and used in lower levels. Spells. Use all magic with great care. Most spells may only be used once unless otherwise stated, but may be carried into different dungeon levels until you want to use them. Now begin. Tregard offers you the Helmet of Justice, which you put on. Since you have no helpers to guide you in this challenge, the helmet does not blind you to the way ahead. Now you turn to face the great dungeon door. There are 3 adventures you can attempt. A, slightly difficult. B, harder. Or C, difficult. Why don't we take the easy road today and go difficult? We will go to passage 57. 57. As you reach the threshold, a giant hand seizes you and hurls you through darkness into the next chamber of the dungeon. In Knightmare Castle, the dungeon chambers are not connected in the normal physical sense, and merely walking from one to another is not always possible. Sometimes you will be transported by magic. Disconcerting at first, but you will get used to it. The chamber you emerge into has 4 doors, numbered 1 through 4. The first is labeled Fire Exit. The second carries the symbol of a siege mortar bomb. The third a chalice, and the 4th a broadsword. Which will you take? We will take the advice earlier. Well, at least we'll interpret the advice earlier. We're going to consider that the weapons are the weapons of the enemies. We're going to take the chalice, door 3, and we're going to passage 46. 46. As you reach the threshold, the giant hand grabs you once again and whisks you into darkness. As your vision clears, you emerge into a dungeon chamber with 2 exits. Suddenly you hear the ringing of tiny bells, and Folly, the jester, appears. He has a riddle for you. How is it possible to discard right and find what's left is still right? He must be referring to the 2 exits. Will you choose? Which will you choose? How is it possible to discard right and find what's left is still right? If you look at them upside down, I suppose, or in a mirror, in which case, what's left is still right will be the right exit, I think. So we'll go to passage 58. Wait, why does that feel familiar? Oh, it's not. The chamber you have entered has no apparent exits, but light from a high window illuminates a broad oak table in front of you. On the table in front of you are various objects. There is a brass key, a silver ingot, a small crossbow, and a crusty pie. Before you can examine these objects closely, the far wall of the chamber cracks and splits, revealing the vast craggy features of the wall monster Granitos. "Oh dear," echoes the voice of Tregart. "There is extreme risk of either being eaten or bored to death by this tedious creature. If you want to avoid both these fates, be sure to answer him correctly." "I have but one question," groans Granitos. "What do you call a 2-legged dragon?" How will you answer? A. Tyrannosaurus Rex, B. A wyvern, or C. Stephanie. Check your answer on page 144. If you answer correctly, go to 8. If incorrect, go to 52. Let's go to 144 and make sure that a wyvern is indeed what we call this monster. Here we go. This is section 58, and the correct answer is B. I'm not sure I like that convention, but I'll commit to just not remembering anything else I saw on the page. In fact, I've already forgotten. I answered correctly, so I'm going to go to passage 8 now. And passage 8. Granitos is disappointed. As he disappears, a door is revealed in the right-hand wall. You re-examine the objects on the table and sensibly decide to eat the pork pie. Life force status, green. Now, for the clue objects. Keys, of course, are always useful. The silver ingot could be used as a bribe, but the crossbow looks to be an efficient weapon. Make your choices and mark them on your adventure sheet. It might be nice to have a weapon, and I think that keys are a good option. So we're going to make the 2 choices of key, which I don't know what that was that I just attempted to mark, and crossbow. I think the silver ingot might be a good idea too, but it's just an ingot. I guess we'll just take these 2 and go on to 16. Surprise, surprise, the small chamber you stagger into is dominated by the massive circular shape of a great siege mortar bomb with a burning fuse. This must have been a chamber I could have gone into earlier. The bomb is suspended in a rope sling above your head and out of sight. Frantically, you look round for a means of escape, but the only exit is locked. Check your possessions. If you have a key, go to 96. And I do. So I will go to passage 96. Well done. You knew that key would come in handy, but wait, the lock is jammed. You will have to throw your whole weight on it. Check your life force status. If your status is green or amber, the door opens. Now, I traveled from the room with the clue objects into this room. I believe that it would have only have degraded from green to amber, and not from amber to red or green to red, so I should be amber at this point, if I'm not mistaken, because of the doors through which I have traveled. I will go to passage 29. The force hurls you into the next chamber, which is a great cave arching away into darkness. You are teetering on the edge of a deep, deep chasm, and the ledge where you stand is lit with a strange green light. Across the chasm from you, a woman lounges elegantly on a rock. She is richly dressed and carries a distinct aura of threat. "Not another unwanted visitor," she sneers. "Well, if you enter without warning, you can't expect hospitality. I am Lilith, and this is my domain. If you wish me to create a causeway so that you may pass, I shall expect payment." She raises her arms and makes an obscure gesture of power. "Rock to rock and stone to stone, span the cliff and cross the zone." The magic causeway materializes and glitters before you. As you hurry across, check the clue objects you have with you. If you don't have the silver ingot, turn to 21. Oh no. Without the means to bribe Lilith, you can proceed no further. Your adventure ends here. But my crossbow. I can see very cleverly that this book essentially spans these different choices, but they all lead to their own dead ends or their own continuations, and they definitely all seem to have their loop back. So by choosing the correct one first, you will loop back to the second. You could have gotten to the second one first, but you would have had a fail state if you chose to continue, or at least the fail state would have been eventual because of you lacking an item from your first correct choice. Now, Tregart says in the TV series that there is no correct path through the dungeon. indicating that there may be multiple ways to complete the dungeon or complete this book, or the Knightmare series in general, whether it's book or TV. There are also a lot of redundant passages that don't lead you back to the same passage, but to a sort of copy of that passage that has its own set of ways to get there and its own results leading out. For example, I noticed that Yes, I'm kind of breaking the don't cheat rule, but my eyes caught this and I wanted to share it because it's kind of unique as far as adventure books that I've read goes. Here we have the sorceress, Lilith, again. You seem to be encountering her under different circumstances, but it's the exact same room, it's the same scenario. It may even be the same time that it would be had you chose any other path that would lead to Lilith, but this time the introduction is shorter and you can now offer her a key, a red gem, or a green gem. Passage 78 has her being very unsatisfied with your offering, but that passage is actually not a result of any of these 3 passage choices from 74. It looks like the book will not miss the opportunity to insult you. Incorrect use of the door spell, dumbhead. You've cast it in the wrong place and now you've wasted it. You could blunder on, but without the door spell, you won't be able to finish the adventure, so you might as well stop here. That's mean. What is this creature, by the way? As small as this section of the book is, it seems a lot more substantial than I imagined. I really thought I was going to breeze through it, and I suppose I could try to breeze through it again in a future Tome Tuesday, where I will see these choices and decide that this particular kind of note-taking is not a good idea. The crossbow did not serve me when I was just going with my gut instinct. I'm going to look at this diagram, having forgotten why I drew it out at all, and think that the clues are somehow in here. I'm going to try to mark that out. But this is the first and only episode of Knightmare here on the channel. Please let me know if you'd like me to continue, win this book, go into the next book, delve a little bit more into the show and into the books. And if the response is rather favorable, that is the direction we will go. Don't worry, I will be covering the Hero Quest book in a future Tome Tuesday, as well as Tunnels and Trolls, although I will be wanting to start that proper. This is kind of far along in the Tunnels and Trolls series. We've got the Rule Book and then the City of Terror, then the Amulet of the Salty, Arena of Kazan, and so on and so forth and so more. Point is, we have a lot to go before we can get to this point. What say you, brave adventurers? Dare you take the first step on the path to knighthood and become a squire by completing the challenges of Knightmare? If so, this guy will give you a thumbs up and speak to you elegantly. But if not, well, thank you very much for your kind attention. I will see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, I fare thee well for now. Goodbye. Bye-bye. Goodbye, but God, don't you hate it when you're trying to say a word and then suddenly another word comes out and your brain just can't stop the first one in time? Goodbye.